what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy it. We've done a lot of schedule talk here, looking at LSU's schedule and how, like, you know, it seems like it should be really hard because it's 10 of 12 Power 5 teams. And it is. I mean, to be clear, it's not easy, right? But in the realm of the current SEC and like Jake always talks about with like runs of games and homes and aways and kind of the rhythm of the schedule, it's actually a pretty friendly schedule when you look at it. And so we broke it down here recently and we were like, okay, you know, it kind of feels like there's a real opportunity to go 10-2, but I don't want to go full sunshine pumping homer like I have been wont to do in the past. And so I'm like, okay, if I think maybe 10-2, then I should do a natural check and balance and take off a game, and we'll just say 9-3. I'm not sure where the 3 is, but we'll just say somewhere along the line there'll be a game that's out of pocket and you'll go 9-3. Well, some validation from the national media as CBS Sports in their game-by-game predictions actually has LSU going 10-2. And it's not hard. And again, it's for a lot of the same reasoning. And to be fair, look, you would have gone 10-2 the last 2 years had you beaten Florida State. And USC, even though that's not like an easy game, is worse. Significantly worse than Florida State. There is no excuse to lose that game in Vegas. I would argue that the USC game this year is Brian Kelly's biggest game as LSU head football coach. If you win that, then you are set up for 10-2. And even in this CBS prediction, Jake, to give you an idea of how 10-2 may actually be pretty damn realistic, they actually have LSU losing to Ole Miss at home in this 10-2. And I think that's going to be tough for Ole Miss. I mean, last year, you had a ball on Chris Hilton's hands in the end zones. Now, it's going to be, I am a believer in this year's Ole Miss, but it's like, okay, I think LSU has a good chance of winning even that one. So where do they trip up? Maybe it's at Florida, maybe not. Maybe at A&M would be the one that they get a CBS game win on that I think could get very sketchy. But either way, if you're a 10-2 boy, just know it's not just me or us local sunshine pumpers saying it. There's other people looking at it from outside and saying, yeah, you know what, that looks like right to me.
Yeah, take the opener out of it because you have to go prove that you can go win an opener. But like if we're just looking at the conference games, I think the 4 are Ole Miss, at A&M, Alabama, Oklahoma. Like those are the 4 games that you can kind of call into question. And it's, can you split those games, right? Because again, like you sure, you want to be 12-0, but 10-2 gets you in the college football playoff. In the SEC, with a schedule like LSU has, we've mentioned it, 8 SEC, 2 Big Ten opponents. You go 10-2, you are in. Now I don't know where you fall, but you'll be in the college football playoff.
I mean, think about it. Okay, where would you fall? So you'd probably be the third. You'd be the third or fourth team out of the SEC. Because the winner would make it and the loser of the SEC championship would make it. But I'm wondering if maybe you could seed high enough to snag yourself one of those home playoff games. I mean, potentially the fact that you would have an extra Power 5 win over some of your peers could potentially come into play there and maybe push you over the top. It's probably a bit too much projection to engage with that too deeply, but just know if you go 10-2, you will make the playoffs. So you'll at least have a chance and maybe getting that home playoff game in Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, so those are the 4 games that I feel like, okay, 2-2, you go 2-2 in those, and 10-2 is certainly on the table. I know you go to Arkansas and you go to Florida. I just don't think a lot of those teams.
No, and to South Carolina. I mean, I feel like
you go to and you go to Arkansas early now. It's no longer late where you got to deal with freezing weather for us. Not most people, but here in South Louisiana, you go up to Fayetteville, and we've played in those games, right? And it's freezing cold, and LSU doesn't show up, and they got to win 7-3 or 10-7. They've had a lot of those. Well, it's no longer at the back end of the schedule.
I love it, dude. I know. And it's funny because, like, freezing, like you're saying, was like maybe 40-something. But everybody's on the sideline, like, teeth
the
chattering,
heaters.
like, oh, my God. So, yeah, that's gone now. So, at Arkansas should not represent and also, I think Arkansas is going to be terrible. I think they're in a bad spot.
Yeah, I do too.
I think it's going to be a real bad feeling to hire the guy who's going to take over for you, like Sam Pittman had to do with Bobby Petrino. But alas, if you want to make that money, get that buyout, I guess you got to do what you got to do.
If we're looking at, schedule trends like we always talk about, it is A&M bye week, Alabama at Florida. Because even though we don't think Florida is going to be the Florida that we all know, it's still, you got to go there. It's going to be a good environment. I mean, depending on how their season goes, maybe Lagway gets some run at the back portion of the season.
Yeah.
Now, I think Graham Mertz is a good quarterback, don't get me wrong, but if you've got your future guy in there, maybe it's a Chris Leak Tebow situation where Lagway comes in and gives you a spark, and still Graham Mertz is going to play a little bit. He's the Chris Leak, but it's going to be, a little bit of a momentum shift if Lagway goes in there.
Remember, Chris Leak, isn't he like?
Yeah, really
we looked
good.
it up, but like all-time stats-wise.
Yes, one of the top.
He's like top 3 in yards, touchdowns, everything for SEC history. But no, Graham Mertz is a fascinatingly polarizing character.
Yeah.
Like, quarterbacks love to tell you that he's good, and other analysts, some do fall in that camp. But I'm kind of in the camp of, yes, he's certainly not bad. I'm not saying that. And the stats on paper look very good. They're maybe a bit more empty there, I believe, and a bit more conservative. Mainly that 7.5 yards per attempt has to increase this year if Graham Mertz and Florida are going to overachieve or do anything even somewhat impressive.
And that's with losing a first-round receiver.
Yeah.
Now, Ricky Pearsall's
True.
with the 49ers. Trey Wilson, good player. We'll have to see if he can step up and be that playmaker. But you're right. I mean, Graham Mertz was efficient, but not game-changing.
So LSU, though, 10-2, according to CBS Sports, and it kind of makes a lot of sense, y'all. But you will not achieve that if you lose to USC. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.